Welcome to this week's edition of The Next Chapter. I'm Amazon best-selling author Fred Hughes, here to talk about writing again. Today's show, first off, I'm the host of the show, and I'm going to do a shameless pitch for the new book that I have coming out. On the 12th of April, which is shortly after this show hits the airwaves, my newest book, Prince Dominator, which is the 8th book in the Prince of Britannia series, will hit the streets. 8th book. Amazing. Actually, I look at today's date, and I didn't realize it till I was getting set up for today's show. This is the first birthday of my book 5, which is Prince Renegade. So happy birthday, Prince Renegade. And in a couple of weeks, Prince Dominator, the 8th book in the series, will be out. I'm excited about it. There's the cover. So moving on to the subject of this week's broadcast. Way back when I did the first show, I told everybody that one of the things I wanted to accomplish as part of me doing these shows was not just to sit and, pardon the expression, bullshit with other authors and let them promote their books and talk about their writing, etc. Is I wanted to talk about how you out there can publish books. It's not as hard as it seems. So today we're gonna step by step talk about, you have a story, maybe you've even written it. How do I get that published? How can I publish that myself? It's funny, I was catching up with some other authors as I was getting ready for the show today, and there were quite a few of my associates were in Memphis this past week, at least science fiction writers, for what they call Mid-South Con, which is a science and fantasy convention that's held in Memphis. And there was some interesting discussions about a certain discussion panel that took place during the convention. I think it was on the last day. And actually, I was supposed to be there, but because of other family commitments, I had to cancel. But this panel was supposed to be about indie publishing, which I started as an indie writer. And what I mean by indie is that I wrote my book, got it edited, came up with a cover, and I put it up on Amazon for sale, all by myself. And that's what we're going to walk through today. But they were talking about indie publishing. Is it a viable option? Should you try other venues, et cetera, et cetera? And the consensus of the people on the panel, and I looked at the people on the panel, and most of them I did not know. Their consensus was wait and you should only do indie as a last resort. I can't disagree more with that, and you should have seen the feedback of the person who, Bill Webb, who has been a guest on the show. He heard about it, and he made a post on his website and on Facebook, and the feedback from a number of well-known writers, foremost amongst them Larry Correia, was that obviously the people on that panel weren't really indie writers, or they weren't successful indie writers. So we're going to dispel some of the myths about publishing and how to publish and whether or not you can be successful as an indie writer in today's show. So let's get right to it. I'm going to share my screen and show you, the first thing I'm going to show you, this is chapter 1 of Prince Dominator, the book that's coming out in 2 weeks. This is what I considered clean copy that I sent to my publisher, who's Chris Kennedy, saying, here's my book. And if, you sort of have it spread up, blown up so that you can see it easily on the screen. See how nice and pretty it is and everything else. And this is written in Word, so you don't see any of the red highlights or anything where a word is saying that there are misspelled words or missing commas or periods or anything else. As far as Word was concerned, this was a really pretty document. I also run, and you don't see it on here because I don't have it activated, I run another editing program in the background called Pro Writing Aid, and don't want to delve into that right now, but some future show I'll go in and talk about all the different programs I use as an author and why I use them, is it cost effective, what it would cost you, etc. But basically, Pro Writing Aid is the word editing program on steroids. Not only does it tell you if it's wrong, it also gives you suggestions on how to correct it. So, enough said about that. So this was my original document that I sent to Chris Kennedy. And this is the document I got back from Chris Kennedy. And let me blow it up here a little bit bigger. See, there's a lot of red on here. And I might have blown it up a little too much. But you see all the red on there? That's what my editor decided was wrong with just this little part. And, so, and you see the bars down the side indicating there are corrections on those lines. And based on what you're seeing, there's a lot of corrections that have to be made. That's what a good editor does for you. And the reason why I'm showing this is there are a lot of people who I can't afford to spend the money on an editor. I've written a book, and oh, by the way, just for your information, this book is 91,000 words long. So in standard Word document, it's 160 pages long. I can't afford an editor. Well, if you want people to take you serious as an author, you can't not afford to find an editor. Now, you can find editors online that will do your book. Typically, they'll charge you X number of cents a word. But if you want readers to take you seriously, you have to get an editor. And even if you decide, I'm not going to indie publish, I'm writing a short story, I'm writing a novel, whatever, I'm going to shop it around to publishers to see if they'll publish it for me. If you send them work that isn't what they call in the business clean, really clean, you've never published with them before, and you're trying to convince them to publish your story, then you need to send them as clean a piece of work as possible, so you need to have an editor look at it. Now, here's the other thing about editing. Editors can do numerous things, and you have to be careful when you're talking to an editor about what do you want them to do. Do you want them to do proof editing, which is much cheaper? Proof editing basically means they're not going to do anything but go through, check spelling, and check grammar. That's it. They'll make sure, like I said, they'll make sure the words are spelled right, and the commas, apostrophes, em dashes, everything else are in their proper places. They won't fix other grammatical errors, the infamous dangling participles. They won't fix what I call content issues. Oh, all of a sudden this guy appeared in chapter 6 of your book and you killed him in chapter 3. So how, is he Methuselah and came back to life? A proofreader will not correct that because they're not even going to look for it. The cleaner you submit your document to your editor, the less time they spend on fixing spelling mistakes, the less time they spend on fixing commas, the more time they can concentrate on the content of the book and catch when you suddenly resurrected someone from the dead. Or, oh, this captain's first name was Gladys in chapter 2, and now she's Alice. You know, good editors fix all that stuff for you. And it's way better to do that than to suddenly start getting emails or reviews from people talking about how bad the editing or how bad the spelling is. So, after the break, we're going to come back and talk about how do you get this document into Amazon. Welcome back. I'm Fred Hughes. This is the next chapter, and we're talking about self-publishing books. You're a potential writer. You've written a story. You've written a book, and you're wondering, how can I get this published? So, going back to, I was showing you this picture of going over the last book I submitted, and here was the review of that last book, the edit of that last book. And after I cleaned all back up, I sent it back to my publisher, and he got it ready for uploading because he takes care of that as the publisher. He uploads this into Amazon. So went through, used the editing function, and went through and corrected all the problems. So the next step, if you're going to self-publish, is you take that to what's Kindle Direct Publishing. This is part of Amazon. If you go into the normal Amazon page, you can sign up as a prospective author that I'm thinking, I either have a story, whatever, that I want to publish on Amazon. And so you create an account, and it will take you to this page. And if you come down here, it'll say create, manage, publish, create a new title or series. And if you scroll on down, it'll show you the other books that you have currently active that are being sold on Amazon. Now, I talked about my book 8 that just is coming out, and the 7 predecessors to it in the Prince of Britannia series. You won't find them on this page for me because I am not the publisher of those books. Chris Kennedy is. So he has a site that looks just like this, where I can only imagine how many books he has on it because they're published under Chris Kennedy Publishing. But I do still have books that are indie published. As come down here and you'll see there's Cripple Squadron, Apostate Cripple, and Crippled Disciple, which are the 3 books in the first Solar War series that I'm writing as an independent. So I'm going to click open Crippled Disciple because that's on pre-order, and you have a book. So I want to, when you click up here, create a book, it will take you to this page, which I'm going to open up. Pardon the delay. I didn't think it would be this slow, but I guess it is. Well, isn't this tedious and enjoyable broadcasting? You know what? Nope, there it is finally. I was getting ready to go. it'll come through and ask you various questions. What language? You can print this, you can put this out in any language you want. The name of the title, is it part of a series? In this case, yes, it is. And I typed in the first Solar War, and this is book 1. Edition number. If you come back and you make major revisions to a document, you might want to give it an entirely new revision number. Now, the important thing about revision numbers is that if you do make a major revision and you put a revision number in here and you upload the new document, Amazon will tell all the folks that have bought your book that there's a revision to the book and they can download the updated book for free because they they bought and downloaded the original. Contributor, author, and then description. Description is very important because this description is what's going to appear on your Amazon page. On your sale page, this is what's going to appear in the write-up. And I'm not going to sit here and read the entire thing, but like any other sales pitch, you want it to be catchy and you want it to grab the attention of a potential reader. Then other thing, publishing rights, or this is the public domain work. Public domain work, believe it or not, there are a lot of authors whose work, I'm trying to remember, somebody's stuff just came available for public domain. Like H.G. Wells, people from at the turn of the 19th century who were writing books, that their books are now public domain. You can theoretically, as an author, and I know people that do this, take that book, get it transferred into a digital, then turn around, do your own spiffy cover, make your own comments, maybe even make commentaries about the book, and then republish it on Amazon. So you would be republishing an H.G. Wells book. Now, when they get into public domain, you better grab them fast because everybody is sitting there. It's almost like doing online bidding on any of the shopping sites, that someone will sneak in at the last minute and grab the rights to it before you can get it. So, but it's an option that's available. And then some other, explicit, has it got any sex in it, whatever. It lets you put an age limit on your book. Primary marketplace, you can actually, select other locations, around the world. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the show today. Then it's going to ask you to put your book in categories. This is important too, because certain people only want to read certain types of books. We've talked about that in previous shows, how, certain people only read romance or read middle sci-fi or read fantasy, thrillers, whatever. And that's the only kind of book they want to read. So when they're looking for their next book, they go on Kindle ebooks, pick the, let's say, thriller mystery category, and start scrolling down and looking at what new books are on the site. So it's important to pick the right category for your book to appear in the Amazon listings. Then there's also keywords. And the best thing I can say is go on Amazon itself and look at other books and see what keywords are appearing in their ads or whatever. But when people want to, like for instance, for this book, if someone does a search on action and adventure for books, my Cripple Squadron book has a chance of appearing. The same with science fiction, space fleet, etc. So, and then because I have this on order, it says this book is going to will be released on July the 26th. So after the break, we'll talk some more about what happens to get a book on Amazon. Welcome back to the next chapter. I'm Fred Hughes, and we're talking about how you can put your work up on Amazon as a book, as a short story, as a poem, whatever. I'm walking you step by step. And when we went to the break, I was going through Kindle Direct Publishing and how to upload your work so that you can get Amazon to sell it for you. All right, so we talked about on the previous page of this, descriptions and everything else that you have to fill out. Here's where the rubber meets the road. This is where, right here, Manuscript. This is where you're going to upload your document to Amazon. And when you do that, as you can see here, Cripple Squadron Final Doc was the document name that I created and uploaded to Amazon. And you'll see that say, oh, Manuscript upload was successful. The next thing it's going to ask you to do is to upload a cover. Now, just like editing, covers are important. I know that when I'm looking at books, back in the day when I used to go up and down the bookshelves in a Barnes & Noble or Walden Books or whatever, it was the covers that caught my eye. The covers that made me pick up the book and read the back data to see, oh, I like the cover. What's this book about? So covers are important. Covers are incredibly important. But covers don't have to be expensive. Cripple Squadron, this cover right here. And I know you can't see it very well, but that cover cost me $50. But it catches the eye. There are other places. Fiverr is where I got the first 3 covers of the Prince of Britannia books when I was an independent author. I found a person who created ebook and paperback book covers. Basically, all they did was Photoshop. I mean, they would take stock photos and blend them together and then add the book name and graphics, for all of that in there. And for quote unquote the tri-pack, a cover for an ebook, a cover for a single paperback, and a cover for an Audible cost me $55 with 3 edits, meaning that if I didn't like the initial one, I could ask for 2 more attempts without having to pay extra. And when I say ask for 2 more attempts, it was like if she did what I asked but I didn't like it and asked her to do something different, that would be one of the 3 attempts or the second attempt. Anyway, so you upload the cover that you get here. Then recently, within the last 3-4 months, Amazon has made authors ask the question, did you use AI tools in creating text, images, and/or translations in your book? This is becoming a big deal in the author world, and sometime in the future, I'm going to devote an entire show to AI. And it's not just a big deal in the author world, it's a big deal in music. Everyone realizes we just went through a big strike in the world of entertainment between the actors and the screenwriters. And one of the sensitive topics involved in that was the use of AIs. how, like everything else, studios, producers, etc., are using AIs to replace screenwriters. I mean, have the initial screenplay and the studios bought the rights to it. You need it reworked because you decided to go a different direction. You just feed the information into a chat GPT and it can generate a new script for you on that scene. Hell, they can generate a whole new whole script for the entire movie if you want. Same with a book. So Amazon's asking you up front as an author, are you using AIs to do any of your work? Now, the way this is written is a little vague if you actually go in and look in the questions asked. This is basically Amazon's intent is that it was a majority of the work done by an AI, meaning did you use one of the illustration AIs to create your cover with very little human interaction? Did you basically input ideas into ChatGPT and have it write entire chapters in your book? That's what Amazon's asking in this question. Truth be told, if you even using Word, you're using an AI to do the spell checking and basic editing. Any of the other advanced editing programs, that's an AI in the background working to help you create a finished product. So we all use AIs a little bit, but the majority of work needs to be an author, or for a cover needs to be an illustrator or graphic artist. That's what, and Amazon is trying to protect itself by making sure it knows which books have AI generated material in them and which don't, because eventually it's going to come to a head and some court is going to rule that no, Chet, that's AI generated is infringing trademark wise on other people's work, and there's going to be fallout because of that. So Amazon's protecting itself such that if something like that happens, it can immediately pull down any book that has significant AI input into it. So anyway, moving forward, the last thing is after you get all that done, you'll see this little check mark. Well done. Your manuscript does not have spelling errors or image issues, meaning everything was okay. It might not work that way. Let's see how fast this comes up, because you can do a launch previewer and sometimes this takes a little time. I'm hoping it doesn't today. Naturally, it will make a liar out of me. Well, here it is. So, launch previewer, this is what Vicky looks like if you downloaded it onto your Fire tablet or onto your phone using the app or whatever. And you can scroll through, it'll let you scroll through and look and see what the book is going to look like when someone downloads it. Now, here's the key thing. You need to, as the author, go through and look at every page, because you need to make sure something doesn't bleed off the top or the bottom or on either side, that your chapters appear at the top of the page like you want them to. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. And when you turn around and you find a mistake, then you can't fix it here. You have to go back to your original document, go into the document and figure out, how do I fix the page breaks and everything so that chapter 4 starts at the top of a page rather than in the middle of a page, and fix that, and then re-upload the document. So yeah, it's a pain in the butt. Now, last thing to be said about quality issues, if I can get back to the bookshelf. There's this very top, and I didn't know this existed, view quality issues dashboard. If Amazon has an issue with your book, they will send you a report here. I didn't know this existed. Notice over here it says there were 21 items in one book resolved. When I first started writing my book 2 of Hazard, I had like about that many issues. They sent me a notice. I didn't know that this even existed, ignored it, and they pulled my book down because I hadn't fixed them. We'll be right back after a break, and I'll tell the rest of that story. And we're back, and right before the break, I was talking about how I got into Amazon jail. They sent me notices about the Prince Commander, not the book we're currently looking at, but that was back when I was an indie publisher. And as far as they notified me that they had discovered grammatical and punctuation errors in the book and that I needed to fix it. Well, I didn't even know that that tab existed. And if I go back, see this, view your quality issue dashboard. If you have quality issues, although unless you've discovered this, you won't, it's hard to find this. This will turn from being like a normal blue like everything else. This will be highlighted in red. And it'll also say you have quality issues. Well, I never paid any attention. Most of the time I just scrolled down to get to my books to do work in them. So going back over here, there were 21 items in one book. Now, because I understood it, I immediately went in and fixed it, and so I didn't have any problems. But because I ignored Amazon's message, Amazon does not like to be ignored, let me tell you. They took my book down off of Amazon. I didn't know it till someone sent me a Facebook message saying, hey, I went to purchase book 2, and it's not up on Amazon. Book 1 is, and book 3 is, but book 2 isn't. So I went and discovered that I was in Amazon jail. And until I fixed the issues, and until they reviewed and acknowledged that the issues were fixed, my book would not be up for sale. So it took me like 4 days. And fixing the issues was easy. It was getting them to review it and put it back up. So anyway, enough said. But you can get in trouble for quality issues. That's why I can't emphasize enough that editing is important. So now, last but not least, once you put your book up and everything, you'll be able to create your own page on Amazon. This is Fred Hughes' My Page on Amazon, brief biography, the most popular book that I've sold, which is Prince Awakens. Oh, by the way, 4 years old, 1,953 reviews, and it's still the highest rank of the 10 books that I've written. It's like number 9,000 in the store today. Anyway, but then you can come down and you can see all the books that I have written. Now, as an author, let me show you the other thing you can do. If you go back to here, I thought it was, Thought I had it set up. I apologize. You have access to your own private page. This is Amazon Author Central, where you can just look at sales and marketing information for all your books. All my books will be up here. If I want to see, these are the current ranks of all the books with my name on them. Now, it's not the books I've published. This is everything that lists Fred Hughes, me, as the author. And as you can see, here are all of the books that I have. You can see, and over here, this is my current ranking on Amazon. You see Prince Awakens, oh, it's up to 10,593 now. These are all the books that I have on Amazon. Now, something else of note, and not to get bogged down on it because we will talk about foreign sales in a little bit, because my books are in English, they automatically sell in the United Kingdom. So these are my books. This is how they rank sales-wise in England or the United Kingdom. I actually have books that have been translated into German. My publisher takes care of that. I consider it free money because I never imagined. And so here are my books listed on Amazon Germany and what their rankings are and how they're doing. And my Audible version of the German Audible version of Prince Awakens is doing pretty well. Anyway, so this is all information. And here's one of the key things I want to touch on. Right here, Amazon followers. This is an incredibly important number. 2,987. Those are the number of people who have decided that they like Fred Hughes's books and they want to know when Fred Hughes releases a new one. So I don't have to spend any money out of my pocket when Book 8, Prince Dominator, comes out on the 12th of April. A couple of days before that, and thank you, Stephanie, for getting Dominator back up there. Amazon will send an email out to those 2,987 people who follow me, informing them that, hey, in case you didn't know it, Fred Hughes has a new book out. And so the more people you have following you, the more books you're going to sell, because obviously they thought enough of you as a writer. That's a number you need to track. That's a number you need to understand. That's a number you need to understand how to grow. So that's it for this week's episode. I wanted to, one last thing on this page. And everyone will say that authors don't look at their reviews. Yeah, we do. You know, this is every review for every one of my books. You can scroll here and look, and the newest. And yes, I do read them, and yes, I do take what they say into account. And if I think I'm doing something wrong, I fix it. Just like everything else, learn, evaluate, fix. Okay, so we talked about how to upload a book onto Amazon so you can sell it. That's not all there is to it. In future episodes covering this, we're going to talk about ads, because it's not enough to have a good book. You have to tell people about it. So, thanks for watching this week. If you've got questions about how to do this, you can find me on Facebook, send me a message, go to my webpage, and you can send me an email. I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, that's it for this week. See you next week. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter.